What's up, everybody? It's me, Robbie Bobby. Welcome to the Robbie Bobby podcast, and we're going to get into it as soon as I adjust my mic here a little bit. It's always something, isn't it? Always. There we go. That's a little better. I think that's what I want. Maybe not. Who knows? But, so, we're going to start off the podcast. What we're going to get into is voter ID and why do liberal Democrats think black people are too stupid to get an ID? I mean, I've never met a black person without an ID, and, I've been all over the country, blah, 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 go get it and all that, but, we got some video coming up. We're going to start off with start off with some clips from MTV of all places. And we know MTV is another media outlet, liberal brainwashing of the youths. And Francesca Ramsey is the propagandist for this video that your buddy, Rabbit Bobby, debunks. Even better, as you'll see, if you're watching this on the YouTube channel, you'll get to see this. Of course, what she and whoever wrote this crap don't even realize, they basically prove how far we've come in this country, and that it was Democrats that have and continue to keep the black population from voting. LBJ, anyone? What the reasoning they come up with this stuff is just ridiculous, and what it proves is how not racist it is. I mean, for lack of better terms, I suppose. But and we have black people from Harlem coming up with Ami Horowitz, who's just awesome, explaining how dumb this liberal argument is, that black people are too stupid or poor to get an ID. So roll it.
Showing ID before you vote is no big deal. Everyone has ID, right?
Okay, right off, 6 seconds in, everyone has ID, right? Well, yeah, pretty much everyone does. As if not everyone can get one for underlying reasons. Racism, whatever it might be. Roll it!
In case you haven't noticed, the presidential election is almost here. Soon, everybody can go to the polls and cast their ballots to decide the fate of America. Well, almost everybody.
Okay, and again, the insinuation, if you didn't notice it, the elderly black woman there at the end of the line gets, taken out, that she would be unable to get to the DMV to get an ID. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm going to guess this elderly lady's been around a while, apparently has health issues, so she goes to the doctors and whatever she might need to do. I'm going to bet she has an ID. Then again, I'm not a race baiter. So there you go. There's a key. There's a key in there. All right, roll it.
Since 2008, 10 states have successfully implemented strict voter ID laws that are meant to prevent voter fraud, but in reality, make it harder for a lot of people to vote.
Okay, false. No matter a national election or not, all states have different ID laws. But this doesn't change the fact that Francesca here is trying to convince, people that it's impossible for people of color to get an ID because of whitey. Now, how much y'all want to bet Francesca here has an ID and she was able to do it? Again, we're going to get into it here a little bit later. Roll it!
3 of them make you show either a photo ID, like a driver's license, or non-photo ID, like a bill with your name on it, before you can vote at the polls. The other 7 will only let you vote if you have a photo ID. So depending on where you live, what you need to do to vote in our national election can be totally different. America! So why even bother having voter ID laws at all? Good old-fashioned voter suppression with a dash of racism and classism for good measure.
And here it is, implying that requiring someone to have an ID to vote is strictly to suppress the black vote. Wait till we get to black people and what they think. Roll it!
Requiring voters to have ID seems like a harmless precaution until you realize the majority of people lacking ID are either elderly, poor, and aren't white. And frequently, they're all three. Statistically, African American and Latinx voters are much less likely than white voters to have the qualifying IDs required by states with voter ID laws. They're also disproportionately likely to be low income.
Boom! There you go. And their own words. I mean, here it is. It's their own words. They're saying because you're black or poor or disabled, you don't have the means or the know-how to get an ID. Therefore, it's voter suppression.
Even when a state offers free photo ID, these residents may not be able to afford the underlying documents, transportation, or time required to get one. Many Republicans pushing for voter ID claim the laws have nothing to do with race or class. But in 2013, North Carolina County Precinct GOP Chair Don Yelton told The Daily Show that if the state's new voter ID rule hurts a bunch of lazy blacks who just want the government to give them everything, so be it. Tell us how you really feel, Don.
Okay, a little background on this real quick and how Don Yelton was dealt with and the difference. He was forced to resign the next day, as he should have been, immediately. Now, unlike some other known racists of the Democrat Party, Robert Byrd, Hugo Black, Joseph Brown, Earl Mayfield, John Tyler Morgan, many others, again, of the Democrat Party, who also served in the Klan, the KKK. None of those men were ever made to resign. They were mentors of people such as Bill Clinton. And we still see that today when a Democrat, Joe Biden, says the most racist stuff. Say it.
You have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black.
And is ignored. You also have Hillary Clinton, whose mentor was Margaret Sanger. Look it up. Now, she was a self-proclaimed actual white supremacist. Not the type of white supremacists we know of today, which really isn't anyone due to liberals calling everyone who disagrees with them or they lose an argument to racist and white supremacists. Roll it!
And speaking of North Carolina, they passed a law that imposed strict photo ID requirements on voters, in addition to ending voter registration outreach programs that historically increased black voter turnout. Thankfully, this past July, a federal appeals court actually struck down North Carolina's voter ID laws, claiming they targeted African Americans with almost surgical precision. See, voter ID laws are a classic example of structural racism, which is what makes racism different from prejudice. Prejudice is the individual dislike of a class of people based on a superficial characteristic or stereotype. Racism is racial prejudice plus structural oppression and power that negatively impacts a group. Structural racism often exists in the form of policies or laws that may or may not seem overtly racist, but ultimately cause negative consequences for people of color. Pop quiz! What's the best way to make sure racist laws stay on the books and new rules aren't put into place? Ooh, I know! Make it really difficult for people of color to vote! And that has a long history in America. After the Civil War, the 15th Amendment was ratified, making it illegal to deny a male citizen the right to vote based on race. But that didn't stop election officials from falsely telling black voters they'd gotten the date wrong or that they were in the wrong polling place. Other voters were told they had to pass a literacy test first. Some were even forced to recite the entire Constitution. Really? Who can do that without Google? Fast forward to the civil rights movement in the 1960s. After the violent attack by state troopers on peaceful activists protesting in Selma, Alabama, the Voting Rights Act of 1965 was passed, which explicitly made voter discrimination illegal. Because of the act, turnout of black voters increased tremendously. Of course, not everyone was happy about this.
Okay, here she tries to explain how and what racism and prejudice of the voter ID laws and how bad America really is. Again, implying black people and people of color are too stupid to get an ID. God, these people are idiots. And I've had enough of this idiot, so we're moving on. WJRC, the home of the Right Bible Podcast. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back, everybody. That's right, Robbie Bobby, the Right Bible Podcast. How y'all doing? Welcome aboard. What we're talking about, if you just are joining us, is how voter ID is suppressing the black vote. But I know you're going, but it doesn't. Well, yeah, we know that. Anyone with any sense about them knows that it's ridiculous, especially black people. And again, we're going to get that. We got the clips. It's hilarious. Now, this is an excerpt from a story in a paper on phys.org. I guess that's how you pronounce it, phys.org. It's where a propaganda piece was released by the University of California, San Diego. Shocker. The two authors, Zoltan Hodgenall and a couple other douchebags, wrote, quote, that no two voter ID laws are identical, and laws in different states may be targeting different groups. Yeah, okay, now first, a little bit from the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, states authority. The Constitution allows broad powers to determine the conditions under which suffrage, the right to vote, may be exercised. States can set requirements such as residence, age, and previous criminal record voters. Like if you're a felon, you can't vote in some states. Okay, but like here in Florida, you can't, but you can apply to get your rights back to vote. So there's a way. Now, the ability to read and write has also been considered in determining voter qualifications. I would add in there being able to read and write English, since that's, our language here in America, and I hate it when there's Spanish or French or whatever the hell it is, like below the voter, like vote here. No, that should not be. If you can't read English, you shouldn't be voting, period. You ever go to Mexico and ask for English only speaking? No, you'd probably go to jail. Now, it's true. Each state has the right to make its own voting laws. Now, this brings us to Pennsylvania during the 2020 election. It's the fact that when Pennsylvania changed their voting laws during the China flu shutdown by design and put all them boxes out there for just anyone to put stuff to ballots, which they did, they did it illegally. The Secretary of State on his own cannot legally change voting laws in Pennsylvania. The state legislature, according to the Penn State Constitution, must do that. But being a Democrat, what do you expect when the FBI, the CIA, Biden's DOJ, the career corrupt politicians that have been there are out to get us common American folk? They continue from the paper that, for example, here we go, North Dakota's strict law requires an ID with a residential street address, which may be just disproportionately target and impact Native Americans who live on reservations without an official street address. False. Well, slightly. That was true that they had that. However, Judge Daniel L. Hovland of the U.S. District Court of the District of North Dakota held that the law likely violated the U.S. Constitution because it disproportionately kept Native Americans from voting. So, he required the state provide a fail-safe mechanism in the 2016 general election for those without IDs, and that's what happened. Again, they seem to have left that part out. Duh. Shocker. Again. Shocker. By contrast, Texas's initial law allowed residents to use a concealed carry gun license, but not a state-issue student ID. Why? We'll get to that in a second. A pattern those critics felt favored whites and disproportionately impacted black and Hispanic residents. Again, false. The use of student IDs to vote is simply because that student may live or be from another state, which makes it illegal for them to vote in Texas. Simple, right? No, of course not. If the readers of this story didn't know that they have a Texas ID when they are allowed to vote, let me start over. Damn it. If the readers of this story didn't know that Texas residents with a school ID, the same sort of ID, but are from Texas, well, they have a Texas ID, driver's license, where it might be, then they are allowed to vote. Again, see how the liberal media cherry pick studies, events, and facts, and they leave things out for you. All right, when we come back, we got Amy Horowitz, and this is going to be great. But first, During this little break, the bumper music you'll hear is from the Bootleg Medicine Band. That's right. My great cousin or second cousin, I don't know, can you have a great cousin? I don't know. Well, he's great. Kyle and Jake, they are awesome, man. Young guys coming out, very talented. Be sure to follow them on Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, like me, and give them a bunch of likes and follows. Let them know you're out there. Listen to them. Again, very talented young men. Things we don't hear from young people nowadays. Yeah. But these guys are great. Again, dear to my heart, being family. Check them out. WJRC, the home of Robbie Bobby Podcast. And this new single, there's the Drifter. Bootleg Medicine Band. Roll it!
First time being down, got me sleeping on the edge of town, and all I've got is time to choose just what is mine. Left my tracks all through this place, now I really don't care to stay. It's time to pack my bag, 'cause I ain't never coming back. I've been wasting all my time thinking about things that I don't even care for. I've been giving up and trying, searching hard to find a question that I can't answer. Ticks with every step as I wonder what's up ahead. Every little town is just the same enough to bring me down. But where am I supposed to go with no one to be my home? I've been wasting all my time thinking about things that I don't even care for. I've been giving up and trying, searching hard to find a question that I can't answer. I've been wasting all my time thinking about things that I don't even care for. I've been giving up and trying, searching hard to find a question that I can't answer.
All right, wasn't that awesome? These young guys are awesome. I mean, I can't believe it's just, you know, again, young, talented musicians like this coming up. Thankfully that, you know, there's hope. There's hope. Jake, Kyle, my little cousin. Well, he's not little. He's probably bigger than I am. But anyway, Bootleg Medicine Band. Make sure you check them out. That was a Drifter, by the way. We're going to hear a lot more from these guys coming up, especially right here on WJRC. Now, back to the show. We're going to show this clip from Ami Horowitz. It starts off with the typical racist white liberal college student, the ones that are supporting the terrorists from Hamas. Then we go to Harlem and talk with some black people about this. It's hilarious. And it shows what I've been saying all along. Black people are fleeing the liberal Democrat plantation and coming home to freedom. Welcome back, brothers and sisters. Brothers and sisters. I should probably done that better because I can't do that. Y'all know that. But it's about 3 minutes. I'm just going to play the whole thing. I'm not going to interrupt it. So roll it.
I'm Ami Horowitz, and I'm here in Berkeley, California to find out if voter ID laws suppress the black vote. Do you have an opinion on voter ID laws?
Yeah, they're usually pretty racist and they're bad.
I think voter ID laws are a way to perpetuate racism.
Would you go as far as say those laws are racist?
For sure.
Do you think it suppresses the African American vote?
Definitely.
Tell us how.
Because they're less likely to have state IDs.
Minority voters are less likely to have the kinds of IDs that have been described or required.
These type of people don't live in areas with easy access to DMVs or other places where they can get identification.
You can always get IDs you do over the internet. Does that also make it difficult for black people in particular?
Yeah, you have to have access to the internet. You have to be able to pay an internet service provider for certain fees.
Do you think that's harder for black people to go online?
Well, I feel like they don't have the knowledge of how it works.
A lot of people have smartphones, but you might not have data.
For most of the communities, they don't really know what is out there just because they're not aware or they're not informed. I also think there's a repression of black voting with how if you're a convicted felon, you're not allowed to vote and everything. And when you look at swing states like Florida, that's a huge population of the African Americans.
Now I'm here in East Harlem to ask black people their thoughts on what you just heard. Do you have ID normally? You carry ID around?
Yes, I have state ID.
Do you carry ID?
Yes, I do.
Do you know any black person who doesn't carry ID?
No. Everyone that I know has an ID. Why would they think we don't have ID?
That's a lie. Why would they say that?
Do you have ID?
Yes.
Because I have my ID and my friends have their ID, so we know what we need to carry around.
Yeah, everybody that I know have ID. That's one of the things you need to walk around with New York with, ID.
Do you know any black adult who does not have ID?
No, I don't.
Is it a weird thing to even say that?
Yes, it is.
What is this, some type of trick candy cameras?
I know, right?
That's the only thing I brought with me.
Those are legit IDs. I heard a lot also that black people can't figure out how to get to the DMV.
Really?
What does that say to you?
I know it's that. It's on 25th Street.
Do you know where the DMV is around you?
It's on 125th Street and 3rd Avenue, I believe.
You know how to get there?
Yeah.
Would you have a problem getting there if you had to get there?
No.
I know these sound like silly questions. You know how to get to the DMV?
Of course.
You know where it is?
Yes.
You can get there?
Uh-huh.
No problem.
No problem.
Just checking.
Okay.
And I also heard a lot that black people, especially poor black people, have no access to the internet, can't figure out how to use the internet.
That's just stupidity, honestly. Everybody has access to the internet. Even a little kid can figure out how to work the internet.
I had access to the internet for years.
You know how to use it properly, right?
Exactly. I do it at work. So, of course, I know how to use it. My kids know how to use it. They all have iPads, iPods, whatever.
Your phone has data?
Mm-hmm.
You can actually
unlimited.
Unlimited data.
Mm-hmm.
I use my phone as a hotspot.
What does that say to you for the people who have this perception about you?
They're pretty much ignorant. That's what my thought process was.
I just think that's ignorant.
Ignorant.
Ignorant. That's the word I hear
very
a lot.
ignorant.
Ignorant.
Very, very ignorant.
Does it sound racist for somebody to say that?
I think it is a little racist because, you're putting people in a category and you have no idea what you're talking about.
Maybe a little bit of racist in it, but like I said, I think it's more stupidity and ignorance.
You're judging somebody, but you're judging them because they're black, saying that they don't got it.
What people are they talking to? Who are these people talking to?
Do you have a problem that if you go to vote and they say, "Can we please see your ID to make sure you are who you say you are"? Are you
Love
cool?
showing my ID.
You have no problem with that?
Nope.
Would you have a problem if when you go to vote, if they say, "Can we please just see your ID to make sure you are who you say you are"? Do you have an issue with that?
No.
Would you have a problem if there was a rule where you have to show your ID in order to vote?
I don't think so. No.
Would you have an issue if there was a rule saying you got to show your ID before you vote?
Nah.
Are you cool with that?
Yeah.
All right. I mean, isn't that just typical liberal thinking. And again, somehow I'm called a racist because I believe black people are able to take care of themselves, that, you know, they have the mentality, the smarts, the education to have IDs. You know, they're not held back by some mysterious boogeyman called Whitey. So, and up next is Representative Wesley Hunt. He's a representative out of Texas, and we're going to get into this. This is great. Again, this is a little long, but that's all right. It is well worth it. Now, he just totally blasts the left with just, all right, just roll it.
Senator Graham, you may introduce your witness.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We're honored to be joined today by Representative Wesley Hunt. He serves as U.S. Representative for Texas 38th Congressional District. He was first elected in 2023 and serves on the House Judiciary Committee, as well as the House Subcommittee on the Constitution and Limited Government. He received his Bachelor of Science from the United States Military Academy at West Point. After serving 8 years in the United States Army, he attended Cornell University, where he obtained a Master's of Business Administration and Public Administration and Industrial Labor Relations. You're a busy guy. We're honored to have you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Congressman Hunt, proceed.
Thank you, Chairman Durbin and Ranking Member Graham, for having me here today to speak about voting rights in America, the country that I love dearly. More importantly, I'm here to talk about the left's soft bigotry of low expectations. Because it's the Democrat Party, not the Republican Party, that thinks so little of Black America as a people of color that they make the case that being Black in America means we can't obtain a government ID to vote. And that's not only a ridiculous assertion, it's demeaning and it's insulting. When it comes down to it, many of my colleagues on the left like to pretend that we're still living in the 1950s. Well, we're not. I've got some good news for you. It's 2024, and I know what year it is because I've been Black for just over 40 years. And I'm also the son of a retired lieutenant colonel who grew up in a segregated South. You see, my parents grew up in a Jim Crow South in the 50s and 60s in New Orleans, Louisiana. Their next generation, my parents had 3 kids. My sister, brother, and I all went to West Point, all 3 of us. We all served our country in combat. And I sit before you today as a sitting United States congressman in a district in a suburb of Houston, Texas, that's a white majority district, that President Trump would have won by 25 points, and I won by almost 30 points. And that doesn't happen unless we've made some incredible progress in this great nation. Now, my colleagues on the left like to say that common sense voting laws, including requiring a government-issued ID, are racist, discriminatory, and burdensome. Do you know what my father had back in the 40s and 50s before it was even cool? A government-issued ID. And continuing in his footsteps, I too have multiple government-issued IDs, and while that might be shocking to many people in this country, people may ask, how's that happen? It's very simple. It's personal responsibility for all Americans in this country, regardless of what you look like. Sitting with me today is my global entry card, my military ID card, my Texas driver's license, my Texas license to carry, because that's how we roll in Texas, my congressional card, and of course, the good old-fashioned American passport. What sorcery is this? What am I, the Black Houdini? How was I able to pull off the impossible and attain not 1, not 2, not 3, but 6 government-issue IDs? Personal responsibility in this country. I fought for this country as an Apache helicopter pilot to protect free and fair elections, and having a government-issued ID isn't racist, it's American. You need to have an ID to drive a car, to check into the airport, open a bank account. You need an ID for basically everything to be a responsible adult in this country, except for voting, apparently, according to the left. Black America does not need well-meaning liberals putting their arms around us and telling us how we should go to the polls. In fact, if you look at recent headlines and polls, you will find that Black men specifically in this country are more fired up than ever to participate in the next presidential election. And I think I know why, and I'm really looking forward to these results. For the record, in the 2022 midterms in Georgia, it proved that election integrity and ballot accessibility can be achieved hand in hand. After the 2020 election, Georgia passed a voter election integrity law, and subsequently, the Department of Justice filed a lawsuit against the state of Georgia alleging that the Georgia law is discriminatory and aims to restrict citizens from voting. President Biden even called this law, and I quote, Jim Crow 2.0. Really? In my humble opinion, referencing Jim Crow for common sense election integrity laws is offensive to those who actually experienced Jim Crow, like my parents and their parents before them. In fact, the law wasn't discriminatory at all, because in the 2022 midterms, Georgia voters shattered voter turnout records across the state. And despite that record-breaking turnout in Georgia, the DOJ lawsuit is still pending. I suspect that it's because that record-breaking turnout resulted in a Republican governor being elected in Georgia, but I digress. I'm going to say the quiet part out loud, which I tend to do. I have a lot of respect for John Lewis, but the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act is not about protecting voting rights. It's about solidifying Democrat power nationally. It's about federal control over state and local elections, which, by the way, is unconstitutional. It's about diminishing the security of our elections. And voter integrity laws aren't discriminatory. They are required for a functioning constitutional republic. I'm going to tell you today, I categorically reject the soft bigotry of low expectations. Black Americans and people of color are proud. We expect more of ourselves. That's what Black excellence really means to me. And above all else, we don't need a new solution to a problem that doesn't exist. Let me be clear. Making it to the polls to vote in person with an ID in this country today is a very low bar, extremely low bar. We can do it, white people can do it, Black people can do it, Americans can do it. And we should all want that for free and fair elections. If you want to be on the right side of history, you should reject the Democrats' Party's attempt to wind the clock back 70 years. Because I'm sitting right here in front of you, and I'm here to tell you we've come a long way. Let's continue this progress. Thank you for your time. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, sir, for having me.
All right, so there you go. 6, 7 IDs. The man has so many credentials. You know, that's why I just let Lindsey Graham and Steve count them off there at the start. And that's, you know, the blowback that this man has received on YouTube is just so ridiculous. It's the everyday liberal racism, Oreo, sellout, this, that, and the other. I mean, from the Black people that hate Black people groups, NAACP, Black Lives Matter, the Black Caucus. You know, I don't understand why some Black people hate other Black people because they're successful without being, you know, a sports star in the music industry, a movie star, a criminal, a thug, a gangster, whatever. You know, you see a Black man that's, you know, well-educated, works every day, takes care of his family, is successful, doesn't need the government for anything, and somehow, you know, he's acting white. Oh, whitey. You know, what kind of crap is that? And this is, again, and somehow I don't get that whatsoever. Again, it's like Bizarro World. But anyway, I want to thank y'all for joining me. I want to thank Bootleg Moonshine Band for their wonderful music. Jake and Kyle. Hey, Kyle. My cousin. Love these guys. Again, they're going to be they are up and coming. So I can't wait for what's coming next from them. Again, make sure you follow them, like me, on Facebook, Spotify, and YouTube. Hit the like buttons, hit the follow buttons. They're, again, you get on with it. WJRC, the home of the Right Body Podcast. We got more coming in the next segment. We'll see you then. See ya. Shh.
edge of town. And all I've got is time to choose just what is mine. Left my tracks all through this place. Now I really don't care to stay. It's time to pack my bag, 'cause I ain't never coming back. I've been wasting all my time thinking about things that I don't even care for. I've been giving up and trying, searching hard to find a question that I can't answer. Ticks with every step as I wonder what's up ahead. Every little town is just the same enough to bring me down. But where am I supposed to go with no one to be my home? I've been wasting all my time thinking about things that I don't even care for. I've been giving up and trying, searching hard to find a question that I can't answer. I've been wasting all my time thinking about things that I don't even care for. I've been giving up and trying, searching hard